Hold on, I'm going. All right.
Okay, so mine's recording, or is yours recording too, Bob?
Yeah, I must have had to agree to it. So here we go.
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting my voice back. I lost my voice a little bit. I've been under the weather. I think I've had strep throat, but I'm slowly starting to feel better. But anyway, without any further ado, my name's Luke Angstadty. I'm the host of the podcast Knowledge Wars. I'm the author of the book The Musings of De La Pew, which is a 20-year investigation into the nature of reality, the nature of universe, God, human beings, the relationship between all of them. I'm kind of here with we've kind of made this a joint effort with my good friend Bob Kraft, who's a constitutional and common law expert. He's the CEO of Our United Republic. He's just launched his website, ourunitedrepublic.com today, which I want to congratulate him on. I had a chance to view it already, and it looks amazing, and I can't wait to learn more. Bob knows a hell of a lot more than me on constitutional common law, but I've been coming at it here and there with probably more greater regularity over the past several months. But I mean, there's a dawning apprehension where people realize that something has been fundamentally lost in society, and it's not always easy to pinpoint and put a finger on it. But the more research a lot of us do on our own, we find that we're coming to that other people, other researchers, independent researchers, are coming to the same conclusion, and that is that common law, otherwise known as natural law, also known as God's law, has been systematically pushed to the side in our society, and that it could very well be the root of more than a significant it could be the root of almost all our ills of society. I mean, that may be an overstatement, and I leave it open to discussion and debate. But without any further ado, I want Bob to introduce himself to the audience, and also this is like a joint project we're doing. I know Bob does videos, and we've done chats before. We've done long form discussions before. So I want to hand it over to Bob now.
Yeah, how you doing? I appreciate it. It's good to see you, Luke. And we're starting to get this. I think we're starting to get this thing refined down to start sharing information, not in the aspect of what's wrong, but in the aspect of what are we going to do about it. And I think that's the part that we have to address. We know that we have liars. And let me start with Our United Republic. So I want to talk about two different things. And I really walk the line of the law. So when I say law, I start with ecclesiastical law, right? I start with biblical law, or the laws of nature, and nature's God, and the laws of nations. If you want to read about that, Mr. Emer Vattel, which is basically the founding of America, that's one of the primary books that they use, the laws of nature. And then I look at law in three different ways now, because I've learned more. There is ecclesiastical law, that is church law. There is common law, that is territory law. And there is water law, and that law is called equity. And right now we only have an equity system. Our common law system has been, if anybody saw my TikTok, it went viral, 77,000 views in 2 days. So
fantastic.
It
Yes.
went vertical, man. So that's
fantastic.
And I've been trying to get my page launched. It's not complete yet.
Excellent.
But it has been coming along. And it's about this, but it's more than this, because the one thing I realized is when Jesus said, I came to create division, what Jesus was really saying is there is the land, there is the sea, and there is the air. And our law system is actually designed in land, sea, and air, right? So the heavens is the air. That is ecclesiastical law. That is actually the laws within our assemblies, or the law within the church. Okay, the most powerful law we have is ecclesiastical law, and the Supreme Court won't touch it. Whatever goes on in a church, they're not getting involved. They'll stay out of it. So those rulings become divine law. We don't have any churches exercising judicial procedure. We don't have any churches producing philosophers. We don't have any churches producing common law lawyers. We don't have these things, and we are found wanting as a society, as a people. We must have the churches of law, because that is what keeps a shackle on the beast that is power and money. And when the church can prosecute somebody, that's the divine law, and that's where the power comes from. And until we have churches that are producing philosophers and common law lawyers, we don't have any guardians. So we're in trouble. We're in big trouble because of it. And I'm building a church right now. I have a council of censors. Luke has participated in this, and it's called the Republic. It is an assembly, as it was in 1776. It is being built on the premise of ecclesiastical law. It is actually going to be an educational platform. It is going to subsequently create lawful societies where it's going. Yesterday, I had a meeting with my council, and the council decided that, or not decided, but in that I already have Kansas on board. They want to bring this into the colonies out in Kansas, and they're interested. So this is going to be a nationwide project, but it's more than that. The goal, the ultimate goal of the church is to bring back our philosophers and bring back our common law lawyers. And we have to build an educational platform to bring those people back in our society so that we can be free, because we are uneducated. And I'm going to be frank, we're ignorant, and our ignorance has got us here. And we've let greed, we've let power, we've let desire, and we've let no mechanism of accountability take over. So we're going to have to go back to where we started. Second Chronicles says, if you come out, if you turn from your wicked ways and you go back, I will heal your land. I will hear you. Well, that's what we got to do. The schools are not schools. You're sending your children to enslavement training facilities to enslave them, enslave their minds, get them to citation, all this citation and testing, that they're telling them what the facts are, and then they're making sure they repeat it. That's cultural indoctrination. That's slavery. You will repeat after me, and if you're wrong, we will punish you. If you don't say what we want, we punish you. And then we keep you busy. You know, the Marine Corps saying was, and I wasn't a Marine, but I worked with Marines in Iraq when I was a convoy security operator. So the Marine Corps saying was, a busy Marine is a happy Marine. Well, a busy American citizen is a happy citizen. They're happy because they think that they're chasing the American dream, and they don't understand that they're giving their American dream away. And it's really sad what's going on right now.
And you're right. And this is part of one of our conversations in the past, is that we essentially have to rebuild society, because it starts with education. Just, I mean, I know that you had a relatively high profile case locally here with the Sarasota School Board in reference to the child pornography that they're peddling to, you know, kindergartners and first graders. And I know you made a lot of headway there, and it did make a lot of attention, but nevertheless, you still hit you hit so many roadblocks along the way. And I think that that's all due to the fact that we as a society are simply ignorant of what common law is. So it absolutely does start with education and getting people together. I mean, getting people that are involved with common law on the same page. I mean, obviously that's not easy, to say the least, but so, I mean, I'm going to get more into this. How do we educate people, Bob? I think doing these videos, I think your webpage is a great landing spot for people who want to start educating themselves on common law, natural law, God's law. But some more details. How do we go about doing this, Bob? I think we're doing the great. I think we're on the right path, and I think we're taking the right steps. But how do you see this unfolding?
Well, it really has to start. We have to have a top-down concept, right? We have to take the equity, the power, money system, and we have to put it where it belongs, which is under the earth, or at least under the land. And I use these terms. I want to make sure I'm using these terms properly, and I'm using them for a reason, because what I'm trying to do is incite a thought in the people that watch this. And that thought is, what exactly is he talking about? There's land, sea, and air law. Well, a friend of mine called me today because I just blew the top off the parties, right? So my video literally blew the top off the parties, because I disclosed the fact that the Republican Democratic Party are one party. They're all working together. They're all getting paid out of one office. So the bribes that they're getting are actually their money, which is a whole nother animal I don't want to get into.
And what's interesting here, Bob, is that a lot of people already realize that, the Democrat, Republican, and so whoever you vote for, it doesn't make a bit of difference. But understanding the intricate architecture behind the systems and why it is the way it is, and what's been removed from it,
Yeah.
and it's specifically
Yeah.
common law, that's been a mystery, and still is a mystery to most people.
Yeah, it really is. And so let's lay out what common law is.
Excellent, great place to start. Yeah.
Common law is non-legislated, non-public good law.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Okay.
non-legislative, that means
So-
it's like a court, right? Or there's a jury.
Well-
So we got to break down
Well,
the terms even more, right? Because it means that
yes,
there wasn't a legislature that went down and said, you shall not do this, you shall not do that, right?
It's
there's
the complete
there's a
opposite of that.
grassroots movement. Exactly.
It's
Yeah,
the complete opposite of that. So let me explain how these separate.
sure.
Common law is one human being's rights law. It is the teachings of Jesus Christ.
Mhm.
Jesus said, you are the temple, you are the kingdom, you are God. Okay?
Mhm.
What he was talking about was law. In common law, one individual's rights sits here. Legislated law or public law or the herd mentality of society sits on the other side. The balancing of the scales is how much herd democracy, right? The pack is equal to how much individual rights, and they face each other and they battle back and forth.
Mhm.
Okay. And that is the war that is taking place. The war that's actually taking place is how much individual freedom is enough versus how much public good or the best interest of someone's opinion of best interest of the public.
Mhm.
And that is what we're battling against. So when you say common law, you say an action at law, you are talking about cases that were never legislated.
Mhm.
You're talking about rulings that came from a jury, and that jury at law made a general law for that territory, that county. So, because this thing's all broken down into federal, state, local, right? Well, it's federal, it's state, it's county, and then it's individual. All right, that's how our system is broken down. And if you want to take it by voting district, it's actually voting district, and then it's individual. So these are the 5 points of our system, right? How the architecture, you had a perfect word, architecture. When a person in a county, because county court is territory court, brings forth an action at law, they create a general law. If you go read your statutes, it says blah, 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 this, and at the bottom it says, unless superseded by general law or referendum. That's what the statute says. We are general law at common law. All right. Now I'm not talking about the court. I'm not talking about the church. I'm talking about in our courts right now. We are supposed to be able to bring forth petitions. All right. Especially when government officers and agents act poorly and breach the trust. And if you read, we're in Florida, you and I are in Florida, you read the Florida statute, it says a public officer is a public trust. That's written right in the Florida statutes. Okay. It's a breach of trust. They have an oath of affirmation that they sign to collect public treasury funds. And the problem is we don't understand when we're talking about public funds, we're talking about treasury, the treasury. Okay. We're talking about the king's treasury. Okay. Because this is based on the king, right? Because back then when common law came around in 1200, it was the king versus the people. Okay. So when we say treasury, we're talking about taxes, tax money, talking about income revenue that came in to our government into the treasury. The treasury funds are then paid to officers and agents of the government. Because it's paid out of treasury and it's public treasury funds, the officers and agents have a property right by oath of affirmation to that job. Okay, what's happened, and this is one of the biggest problems in our government, the attorneys have twisted and ignored the oath of affirmation because of the ignorance of the government employees, and they have pushed everyone into employment law. Okay, well, employment law is admiralty law. Employment law is water law. It's equity. There's no rights in equity. You don't have any rights in equity. That's all about damages and getting repaid for damages. That's not about property. You don't make arguments for property in that law. So we have to understand. So county court, common law is about property and about rights. That's what you're arguing in those courts. And you are protecting the republic by going after poorly acting public officers and agents. This is why they don't want you in this court. This is why they're denying it. This is why they're ignoring it. So now what's happened is the only court left is the Court of Federal Claims. And if you go on that site, it says breach of trust, okay? Because the officer and agent is the trust. A public officer agent is a trust. You are in breach of trust, okay? And then we get into the territory courts, right? So what they did in their infinite wisdom, they moved our only common law territory courts to the Mariana Islands, to Guam, and to the United States Virgin Islands, which I thought was awesome that in Revelations it says, and they will be virgins.
Mm-hmm.
And they will be virgins. That's it. It was just funny. I laugh. Listen,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't read the Bible till 2020, but I did read the book of Revelations from the time I was 12.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to quoting Revelations, I'm on it. I can quote that one. The rest of them, I know pieces and parts. I'm not as well versed, but they built this system based on that.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
It still begs the question, though. I mean, I can't grant our equity law judges and prosecutors the benefit of the doubt here with ignorance. I mean, I think that this is a willful, malicious, coordinated attack on the people. I really do. So it still brings, it's even if we bring cases at the U.S. courts of federal claims. I mean, or we went to the Virgin Islands and Guam and the other one you mentioned, which I lost my
Mariana Islands.
Mariana. Yeah, I mean,
and Guam.
they're not just going to lift their leg and make the proverbial fart sound and say, here, go on your way. I mean, because again, they have the force of ignorance, that being just the general public's ignorance, because we simply don't know. There are so few of us that know anything about common law, let alone enough of us that have become well versed to become experts at it, which I know that you are. But so
well,
what's stopped? We still don't have any force. You know, we don't have any. We do have recourse, but we don't have any force behind us because, again, it comes down to our ignorance, right? I mean,
yeah. I think the best way to answer that question is to come back to the basic premise of reality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and this is the premise of reality. Number one, we live in a hostile world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this place, because of our stupidity. You know, I watched a movie the other day. Have you ever seen Powder? Right, I watched this movie. I haven't seen it in a long time, and I watched it, and I could not stop laughing. Right, and at one part, Jeff Goldblum's in it, and he goes, and Powder's getting attacked. Right, he's super smart, he's super intelligent, but he looks different, and we're such animals to people that we punish them and we want to destroy them because we're afraid of them. We're afraid of intelligence right now because of our ignorance. We're stupid, so we hate people who are smart, right? And we want to destroy it because that's what ignorance does. Jesus was super smart and they wanted him dead. So they got it, right? And in one part, Jeff Goldblum says, you think shooting because they had shot a deer, right? They were hunting, they shot a deer. And he says, you think killing for fun is the worst of mankind? He says, we're fumbling around here, falling over ourselves, just trying not to kill each other every day. You're worried about, you think that this is the worst, is they shot a deer.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't even close to how bad we can be because of our arrogance, because of our power mongering, because of our stupidity, because we just want to be king. And really that's where courts came from. What is the purpose of a court? Why would someone establish a court? Why would they establish the whole court system in the first place? Well, so you wouldn't go around murdering each other, right? That's what it was for. It was to not murder each other. Stop stabbing each other and killing out. I mean, you have Pythagoras, right? Pythagoras said, I'm walking away. He said, I'm leaving. So Pythagoras goes and sets up this whole society. Okay. I don't want any part of any of you guys. And oh, by the way, if you want to be a part of this society, you got to know the 13 elements of Euclid. I don't even know the 13 elements of Euclid because I can't get out of Nicomachean arithmetic. So I wouldn't even be allowed into Pythagoras' society, right? But what happened to Pythagoras? Well, they didn't like him. They were afraid of him. So they came in and murdered him. The Romans and the church, and I don't care, the Vatican's being put on display. The Vatican is the false prophet. Okay. The Vatican is the lie. All right. It is as evil gets. You want to know why it's evil? Because you can't prosecute anybody in the Vatican. This is all about prosecution, and that needs a court. If you can't hold them accountable, you have no society.
Yeah.
That's what this comes down to.
Courts were designed. It's the breakdown of the basic first principles of society, and that's what keeps us prevents us from just devolving into savages. And you look around our world, and we are savages. I mean, the human race is a pack of savages. It's just a planet of savages at this point. That's where we're at. We have our little fancy gadgets, and I have my computer, as do you. But despite all of our highfalutin technology, we're still savages. It's
we are.
Planet.
But it's being bred into us.
Yeah.
The machine is breeding it into us to keep us at odds with each other, because as long as we're fighting with each other, we're never going to seek the truth. And that is a premise that we have to get to. And frankly, we're coming to the end of this. It's interesting. I don't know if you know Chief Phil Lane Jr. This guy, I would love to meet this guy someday. Phil Lane Jr. Right? He's a tribal chief for I believe I don't want to mess up his tribe. There's two tribes that he represents spiritually, right? And he talks about the age of destruction is dying, and it's going through its death throes, and we're feeling it. And what you're getting this awakening, you're not really getting an awakening. What you're actually getting is the bottom of despotism. This is why evil never wins. Evil never wins because the masses will only take the punishment for so long.
It's amazing that you say that, Bob.
They're going to get pissed.
It's amazing that you're using a lot of the same words that I use, and I used them on a video that I did earlier with a friend of mine. His name's Bob, and he lives in North Carolina. And for anonymity's sake, I won't mention his last name, but we were talking about, and I brought up many of my videos with him and other people that I put on my podcast, and that is that we are experiencing the death agonies of a dark age, and simultaneously we're experiencing the birthing pains of the new age too. And
that's exactly what he says.
Right. And this transitional period is excruciatingly painful. It's psychological torture. It absolutely is. And it just begs the question. I mean, how dark is the night before the dawn? I mean, how ugly is it going to get? To what level of degradation does global society have to fall to until we start seeing the sun peek over the side of the horizon again? So that's for me, that's the big mystery right now, is how ugly does it have to get before people say, okay, enough is enough. We've tangled with evil long enough, and now we're ready to give birth to what is hopefully the golden age. What the Greeks referred to as the golden age, the Hindus referred to as the Satya Yuga. I mean, the Native American shamans and in this country had described this golden age in similar terms. But the fact that you mentioned that there is uncanny, but there are a lot of uncanny synchronicities to our, in our discourse, I've noticed. So I had to add that there.
Yeah, well, because we're getting to the truth.
We're
getting down. We are so far down below political parties and male and female, and we are really talking about the concepts that are driving the system. And when you get down to these facts, these are just self-evident truths.
Yeah.
We see the death of the system, and I don't think it's going to be that. There's not going to be this utopia. Okay, there is always going to be day and night. And this is the way I look at it now. And this is going to sound harsh. All right. And you know what? We live in a harsh place. My buddy broke down, I believe it was in Latin, the word America, right? Means no, none, right? Merit means, what was it? Sympathy or mercy.
No mercy.
Okay. No mercy. And ka means sheep. No mercy for the sheep.
Yeah.
In other words, if you want to be stupid and you want to be ignorant, you're just food for the beast, because we're going to let you get eaten. Jesus, listen, Moses brought them all out, right? He left for 40 days and they were so stupid, they started worshiping a golden cow. So then he had to walk them around the desert, right? For 40 years. Jesus came along with a new covenant and said, let the filthy be filthy. Let the righteous be righteous. In other words, pick who will be chosen. And they will all be chosen and they will all be held the same. You're in or you're food. And we're going to leave you to be food. When they caught the fish off the side, right? He said, switch the other side. And they caught all those fish. They didn't take all the fish. They took the ones they wanted. And then they threw the rest of them back. You're food. You're going to be food or you're going to feast. We're going to let the beast feed on you. And that's the way this is going to go. You can play outside the pig pen, all right? And you can act like a human being, and you can have empathy, and you can try to do the right thing, and you will be selected to come in. If you come in pounding your Bible, trying to piss and crap all over everybody, go back and get eaten, because we're going to let the devil eat his food too. There's always darkness, and there's always going to be light. There will never be a planet, because we're born stupid. We're born ignorant. We have no knowledge when we're born. You have to achieve, which means you have to strive, or you're food for the beast, because you're not going to destroy this monster. So we'll send them. We'll get.
Yeah, I mean, I think this monster is always going to exist, even if it's just in even if it's just a super attenuated form, just barely hanging on for dear life. It's still going to be there. Right, it's still going to be there without diligence, and without diligence and perseverance, and just discipline, and just you have to stick to education every day.
You have to stick to
all
education
day long. The moment you let your guard down and you grow complacent, that's when you're giving evil. It's another opportunity to come down and
that's right.
And take over again.
You got to be too annoying to punish.
Yeah.
You got to be too exhausting. People tell me all the time, man, they're like, the FBI is going to show up your door. I'm like, no, they're not. They're going to get served an affidavit that tells them, that's nice. You're a bunch of liars. Here, send me an email. Otherwise, plead the fifth. Put it in writing. You want to talk to me? Put it in writing. Because I am going to climb so far up your rectum, we're going to see which way the curves go. And they know it. I've already done it. I've already gone head to head with the cops. I already had 16 of them all tied up begging, get me off this email. Get me off this email. Get me off this email. Nope. Crabs in a bucket, everybody comes. So now they just stay away from me. I'm too annoying to punish. I don't mess with them. I don't go messing with them. I don't go to their buildings. I don't yell at them. I'm cool with them. In fact, guys that I've seen right? At racetrack, I sit there and talk to them. I know they're in a crap spot. I know they're in a crap spot. They're not even doing their job. Their job is to protect and serve. Protect the peace. No rioting. Oh, wait, that's why we got courts, right? No murdering, right? Stop murdering each other. Go to court, right? So protect the peace, no rioting, and serve writs, warrants, and summonses. You're supposed to be law enforcement. You're supposed to seek your justice. And if you're too stupid to say, I don't know and I need to learn, you're food.
Yeah.
Go get eaten. Me? I'm too annoying to punish. And I don't want to mess with them. I already know they're lying. I don't even care anymore. I'm doing my own thing and they just leave me alone. And that's fine. I'd help them if they asked me to help them. And they said, what can we do to make this so we're not getting shot at? Oh, you want to not get shot at anymore? Well, you have to stop treating people like slaves. You have to actually help people. You think that what, tearing up communities?
Simple, but it's not. I was going to say it sounds simple. It's really not. No. It's the crux of.
It is, but here's the problem
in this world.
I got a friend, and he won't mind me saying his name. His name's Andrew Sheets, right? He's a political guy, right? He's pounding the pavement, and they are punishing him down in Punta Gorda, right? They're First Amendment rights, and we can get into why you have no rights. Some deeper conversation about that. But Andrew, right? He's like, we don't. The First Amendment. They literally threw him in jail. You know what Andrew told me when he went to jail? He told me after 30 days, he forgot what his favorite food was. I want you to think about that. You ever watch this show Locked Up? They put people that were like, they do like undercover stuff, right? I watch this, right? And I'm an education guy. Like I am all about like education all day. Like everything should be learning. You should be growing exponentially all the time. All right. Because if you're not, you're losing it. If you're not using it, you're losing it. So you got to fight to keep it. So I watched this show Locked Up, and I'm sitting here watching it. And one of the people they took out of there goes, I'm going to go read a book because I'm stupid. So let me get this right. You are taking stupid people, okay, expecting them to have reason and know right and wrong when they've been educated to be nothing more than a dog, all right, running in their emotions and their passions and their opinions, all right, and you expect them to deliberate, to know the difference between right and wrong when that's the complete opposite that they've ever known in their whole life. And then you put them in a dog kennel with a bunch of other dogs to bark at each other and decide who's the premise of the kingdom, their little kennel. That's what you're doing to people. I mean, listen, it's disgusting. I have to call them dogs. It's not their fault. It's literally not their fault. You want to punish somebody? You want to really punish someone? Put them in school. Nobody likes school. Nobody likes school, but we're locking them in kennels. But torture is education. So torture them. Make them go back to school. Apparently you didn't learn this in kindergarten.
It comes back to what schools. A lot of people are going to think that it's our current existing school system. I mean, we're talking about, the Platonic schools, right? I mean, that's
well, we are. Yeah,
that's what we're talking about.
It was yes, and it was fascinating. And I don't have it with me right now, but when Thomas Jefferson was setting up the University of Virginia, he literally said that church and school were aligned. Church and state were aligned. Okay. But he also called it Platonic Christianity in letters between him and John Adams. America was founded on Platonic Christianity, philosophical Christianity. Well, we lost the philosophical part. We don't have any philosophers. Now, I know Plato, you know Plato, right? I mean, I don't know how many times I've read Plato, Aristotle, stuff like that, right? And that's what happened. I started reading that, and I started hearing the same verses that were in the Bible in the New Testament. I'm like, these are the exact words out of the New Testament. Well, of course, it was written 400 years before Jesus walked the earth. What do you think he went and learned? Where was he for the first 30 years? He was a
the
student.
more you're, I was going to add, Bob. I mean, the more you read, like the more you read the dialogues of Plato, the more you read, Socrates. The more you read the New Testament, the more you read the Pauline epistles. You become familiar with the cadence of the language and the flow of the language. You get wrapped up in the drama of asking questions, having a conversation. I mean, that's what these people were doing. That's what Paul was doing with the Romans and the Corinthians. It was engaging them with a conversation, with a theological discussion.
That's right.
And you get wrapped up in the drama, and just the excitement of asking these questions, because they cut to the quick of who we are as intelligent, sentient beings trying to have an experience on the temporal plane of existence. It cuts to the essence of who we are. So it's impossible for you, if you become well enough familiar with it, it's impossible for you not to get excited about this, because it's at the core of what it means to be a human, to be a sentient being.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Well, if you are, Aristotle said deliberation is the most divine gift that man has ever been given. Deliberation, to think, to pray, to decide, to make a decision. There are very few people that literally deliberate.
Yes.
And I'm going to say, I'll tell you my most recent experience is that video. When I realized where the courts were, when I realized, and you even asked me about this, he's like, what are you doing? Right? Because what I tell you, nope. Because you have a million people that now have never had rights. All of a sudden, they go to the one place that they have rights, and they've had their property stolen by judges. They've had their everything, like they've lost everything because the failed system, right? Because they're refusing to acknowledge it. Because they're refusing to acknowledge it in the county court. Now you got to go to a federal court, and there's only one federal court that you can do it in. And all of a sudden, now you got rights, and you're dragging them in there. What do you think would happen? What could happen? We're talking about possible destruction of civil society. How many judges are going to get pulled down? How many county commissioners? How many deputies? How many sheriffs? Let's go on. How many FBI agents? How many? When does it stop?
Well, maybe Bob, maybe that has to happen without inciting rioting. I mean, how do we do this? I mean, that may ultimately have to happen. I mean, the system as it exists may have to crumble, but we also have to be ready at the same simultaneously to bring in the architecture for the new society, and that architecture for the new society starts with common law. I mean, we're not just tearing it down just to watch Rome burn. I mean, we're here to replace it with what humans have had in the past.
What it should be. Right? Yeah, and that's exactly it. That's what we need to do. Yeah. And there are a lot of people that are angry. Yeah. Okay. It's sad, when in 2020, I went to Washington in May of 2020. All right. And I walked around Washington, D.C. And I walked around the Justice Center. I have pictures from the Justice Center. Right. So hold on. Let's do this. Let's pull them up. Let me get this. Sure. And let's go through a couple of these pictures. Right.
Sure.
Give me 1 second. Let's see. All right. So here we go. Here's one. It's taking a second. Really?
Looks like it's coming.
Yeah. So anyways,
Did you find a lot of Egyptian symbolism in Washington, D.C.?
Well, a lot of philosophical. All right, this is the perfect one, right? To render every man his due. Now let me explain what this comes. This comes out of the Bible, right? Give each man his due. So this is right out of the Bible, New Testament, Jesus Christ. Okay. It's also found in Plato. Same words, exact same words. Render each man his due. So here's the question. Who renders each man his due? You. You render each man his due. Okay? Because you're supposed to be able to have justice. That's what that means. That's saying one person gets to have justice. The system that we have right now is doing everything it can not to allow one person to have justice. But this is on the outside of the justice building. All right. So let's find another one.
Well, I mean, the state has usurped the role of God here too, Bob. I mean, that's what they're doing. We are, yeah.
Right, but who really is the state? So here's one.
Federal government.
Right, but they're people.
Yeah, they are people.
They're people. They're the same people.
Equity law, maritime law, admiralty law.
Well, that's what they're using. That's their mechanism. Okay, right here. No free. This is a justice building. No free government, right? With an heir. See the heir? That's what that is. It's an heir. Can survive that. You mean no free government can make a mistake?
No.
No free government can make a mistake. That's what that's saying.
Is that what it's saying? I'm kidding. No.
See the heir? They put the V right over the O. Because no free government can survive that heir. Can't be that far off. In other words, you got to make sure you're right. We got a government that only makes sure that it's wrong. Okay? Next picture. Sanctified by the light of reason. You know any 1-year-olds that have reason?
None.
No, because they don't have reason. Reason requires intelligence. Reason requires deliberation. Reason means when you make a decision, you can justify that decision, that it came from a moral and ethical platform. It wasn't just because you wanted something or you feel this way, or it's not your definition. How did you get your definition? Or just make it up? Framed through the mutual confidence. Right? The mutual good, mutual confidence. In other words, we feel this is framed out. This is framed out, okay? And it's got boundaries that it can be enforced. We are confident in this, that this is the most perfect that we have as of 1776. And we framed it out. And that's the word I keep using with the Republic, right? We are framing it out right now. That's why, and you've been on the meetings where I'm like, we're just framing this. We have to get the platform built. So I have to write the Constitution for it. And then once I'm done with the Constitution, we can deliberate the Constitution, the council will, and then we will refine it to its best framing. And we will be confident that we did it right, or as best as we could at that moment. And that's what I'm trying to do. Issuing from the life of the people. Right, power comes from the people. So if power comes from the people, how is it that government has all this power? Because the people are stupid. And when the people are stupid, Only if you read St. Thomas Aquinas' treatise on law, right? St. Thomas Aquinas, a Catholic priest, wrote a book called Treatise on Law. Tell me that's not fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Because judicial procedure is supposed to start in the churches. Because that's where you are judged by your congregation. Right? And if you're a jerk, you're out. We don't want you anymore. You're garbage. Go away. Go find a bunch of clowns to play with. We don't want
You
any
can
more
make a very
circuses.
strong case that all of the Bible, Bob, is the understanding and the perfecting of law. I mean, you have the Old Testament being judged under the law, and then Jesus is the embodiment of that transition between being judged solely by the law and then being judged by grace, and then how grace doesn't abolish the law. It's just to fulfill. I mean, and then Paul gets in and Paul explains, theologically and philosophically what Jesus did. So I mean, the entire narrative of the Bible is about understanding the law.
That's exactly right.
Executing the law,
Because
how
without
it can be executed, and even how it grows, and as our understanding grows, how our relationship with the law will evolve. But the Bible is all about the law.
It's all about the law. It's all about setting up a civil and social society that doesn't have to war with itself, because each individual has the right to redress for grievance. And as long as they can deal with the small things won't become big things.
And it's not an oversimplification to say that it really comes down to, we don't want people killing their neighbor every time somebody steals their cows, right? I mean, that's what we're trying to do here. I mean, this is the law is what keeps us from being complete savages. That's correct. That's the cold, harsh, brutal truth of it.
That's right. And without the law, we are savages, and we are acting like savages. What's the next one? Justice to each is the good of all. Wow. Tell me that's not powerful.
Yeah.
If you can't get justice, then there's no good for all. If you can't get justice, just one person.
Yeah.
Right now, nobody can.
Yeah.
Let's see. That's justice, the set and constant purpose. Justice, the set and constant purpose. Oh, so our purpose should be justice all the time. And you have to remember something. So let's think about this. So they're saying, this is saying you must be seeking justice all the time, right? That's your constant purpose, justice. That means every imbalance in your life, you should be addressing. Tell me one person. I mean, I know a couple people that have the skills to deal with transgressions against them, or when people act inappropriately. But how many people are out there that can do it? Not many, because they didn't teach us that skill.
No.
They didn't teach us that skill because they don't know the skill. They don't know the skill because they're ignorant, and we put them in charge. So now we put them in charge, gave them a bunch of power, and they're stupid. And we're being ruled by dumb. And they think that because they got some degree, you got a degree from a propaganda pulpit preaching school that programmed you to be a slave and make you believe that you're actually intelligent. But if you're intelligent, your actions prove that you're intelligent.
You judge a tree by its fruits, and
that's right.
You judge this world by its fruits. So if I am judging the institutions that hold up this world, that make the world what it is by its fruits, the institutions of government, the state, organized religion have been complete abject failures just by judging by the fruit alone.
That's right. That's exactly right. Let's see. Above all statutes is the figure of justice. Above all statutes. I thought statutes were our laws. Statutes aren't our laws. Statutes are their laws. They make their statutes. We're at common law. We get declaratory judgments of fact. that become law, which is above statutes. That's why the statutes at the bottom say, unless otherwise by general law or referendum, because that's self-governance. You can say, no, we're not doing that statute. Nope, that's stupid. Nope, we're going to pass a law that says that no federal agents are allowed to conduct business inside the county unless you go to a judge. And the judge has to authorize you. Like, that's how powerful this becomes. That's why they don't want us to have it. Oh, that's Benjamin Franklin's grave. That's when I was in Philadelphia when I went to. So here, let me stop the share. So, so there's some pictures right outside the building, the Justice Department. Ain't no Justice Department. It's filled with a bunch of dummies that all power mongers peeing and crapping all over each other, trying to get to the top like a pack of wolves. Who holds them accountable?
No one. No one.
Nobody.
There's no
And they're
accountability
stupid.
to God.
And they're stupid.
None whatsoever, yeah.
Yeah,
There
so
are no
now they're
state
drunk.
laws.
They're drunk, stupid power mongers.
Mhm.
Well, I'm from the federal government. That's nice. It's 10 by 10 square in Washington. Go back to your kennel.
And this is where it starts, Bob, is education. We
It
have
does.
to educate people from the ground up.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And so, interestingly enough, if you want to get perspective on this, you would have to look at how the government was built. What was the purpose? And it's funny they call it the federal constitution, right? The federal constitution. What they miss is the part where it says, "We the people, we the American people, right, in supreme authority, hereby through our assembled churches of delegates that were sent out of churches and came together in a place, the churches established a birth child between the Virgin Mary or Virginia, Maryland, right?
Yeah.
And that Virgin Mary, right, is called the United States. And the people that are United States citizens, let me ask you a question. Are you a United States citizen?
Maybe technically no.
When you're in the United States,
would I have to live in the District of Columbia or?
No. Here's the funny part. You're only a United States citizen when you got your passport and you're overseas. That's why it says treaties. That's why it says excises, right? That's why it says all these things. Because only from the outside is this the United States. It's about perspective. Because the relationships that the 10 by 10 squared are supposed to have are with the international community. They're not supposed to talk to us. They're definitely not supposed to concern themselves with us. They're not supposed to have anything to do with us. They are looking the wrong direction. They're supposed to look across the waters. They're supposed to look across the borders. Okay? You deal with the international community. The states will deal with you. The county will deal with the state. And the people will deal with the county. And God will take care of it from the top down.
You bring up an interesting point, Bob, with how language is weaponized, right? And how words mean one thing in admiralty law, equity law, in an equity court, admiralty court, and how they mean things that they mean something entirely different in common usage and maybe even in common law. But the weaponization of language is just embedded in this warfare.
Yeah, it really is. It is embedded in this system because words are imperfect. And because words are imperfect and languages are imperfect,
one of the things that happened when I read all these books, people kept telling me I was writing, and my friend read some of the stuff I wrote, and he said, I can't read this. I don't know, I even understand what it says. This guy is very educated. He was a student body president of his university. He has a bachelor's degree. Intelligent guy, one of the most intelligent guys. But he literally pointed out that I was using our language as it was in the 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
And what I told him was, that's nice. That is proper English, the proper word.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem. One of the failures of our education system, one of the biggest failures, is we don't know proper English. So how can we actually understand if we don't know proper English? How can you, as a Supreme Court justice, as an attorney, not a lawyer, we don't have any lawyers. Lawyers come out of churches, right? Common law lawyers. Those are students of the philosophy of law. We have bar attorneys that are little power mongering, sworn oath to power money guild members that don't have everyone is just there for the taking. Right? They're predators. That's what they are. They're nothing more than predators. And there's a place for predators in this world. Okay, we got to have the predators. You just don't want to be the sheep. You want to be the wolf in sheep's clothing. So our language, we are so bad at our language, and we're so ignorant to our actual proper language, and so are they. They're trying to interpret the Constitution, and they're not even smart enough to figure out the Constitution was written at common law. The whole damn thing was written in common law.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was written by churches. So it only works at common law. And common law is individual rights law. The teachings of Jesus Christ, Platonic Christianity. Of course they don't know what it means. Of course they're trying to interpret it because they have an agenda, because they're predators to their own happiness, their own fulfillment. And they're so stupid, they're getting bribed with their own money. That's how dumb they are. They haven't figured out that they're getting bribed with their own money. Tell me that's not insane.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that's great. You weren't a millionaire. Now you're a millionaire, and you actually got bribed with your own money. That's how dumb you are. So you sold out your country for what you already owned. You're just too stupid to know it.
Who did they get bribed by? I mean, can you unravel that by lobbyists, by political action committees? I mean, who bribed them exactly?
Well, this whole thing's a
Because
facade.
let's break this down. You're talking about individual politicians being emancipated from the state. Am I correct in
Emancipated is the key
interpreting that
word.
way? Right?
That's right. This
So-
is why the courts, and it's actually, I'm glad we're getting into this. This is why the courts still exist.
Mhm.
See, the courts have to exist. They have to exist because they're using them. So they have to have them there. And here's the other thing. Plausible deniability. If you ever get caught, you can say, what are you talking about? It was always right there. Not my fault you didn't go look for it. I didn't do anything wrong. You didn't know. That's your fault. What am I supposed to tell you? Am I supposed to tell you everything? So yeah, that's exactly it. It's about being emancipated. What nobody knew, and it's written down. It's written in common law books. When you were a child, according to common law, up until the age of 21, you are an infant. You're an infant. Okay? What happened is that your parents sold you. Actually, they gave you to an orphanage. And this is where I get in this conversation with people, and they're like, nope. I'm like, you can say no. It's literally written down. Okay? So say no all you want. I really don't care. So your parents told, and I want you to take perspective when I'm saying this. Your parents sold you to an orphanage for benefits. When they put your application in for your social security number, and they put your application in for your birth certificate, right? It wasn't your real birth certificate, because that's called a certificate of birth. All right. So then they got a social security card so you could get benefits, right? Well, what you didn't realize is it was an application to sell you into bondage. They sold you to slavery for benefits. Okay. Now, what you didn't realize legally what happened is, and they didn't know this, right? They didn't know this. This isn't what they were told. They were lied to, just like the rest of us. The government or the people or whatever, the entity said, well, you gave up your kids. Okay, well, we're going to let you be foster parents. But we're in control now because we're giving you benefits. You're taking them, right? So yeah, we're going to have to start a trust. So we start a trust system, right? Put $1 million in an account. That $1 million matures in 30 years, called a life trust, right? And we're going to use that to pay for you. Because we have to. You just turn the kid over. We got to do something with them. We can't let him be nothing.
Mhm.
So we're going to have to make sure he's educated. But he works for us. And we're going to have to make sure that he's a good, obedient servant to us because we're the parent now. You made us the parent. And the parents are going, no, I didn't. Yeah, you give your kid a social security number? You sold them. All right. So then what's supposed to happen is when you turn 21, you're supposed to get emancipated at common law. Everyone, because remember, this is all about the law. The Bible's all about law, which means you got to have the records. And if common law has no legislated doctrine, then only previous cases would make the common law, which means you got to keep the records. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any records. Don't have any records. Show me where there's a law library in your county where you can go find the common law records, the cases. Doesn't exist. They harvested all that stuff to archives. It's like, get it away from us. So we wouldn't see what it really looked like. So now what's happened is no one actually got emancipated. So we are all infants. And that's how they treat us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they look at us. And that's what's happening. So I don't have any rights. Now, when you go into court, you do a notice of special appearance and you actually make yourself the flesh person in special appearance. You can do that. But in reality, for walking around every day, you don't have any rights. You are an orphan. You're a state orphan to be taken care of.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that'd be a great play. We've been going here for a little over an hour. How do you feel about that being kind of like the launching pad for the next video? I mean,
yeah, I agree.
We've given people a lot of information. I feel like we're really getting to the meat of it, and I think it would better serve you and our audience.
Yeah, we'll kill it.
If we pick this up, kind of like not like a little bit of a cliffhanger, if you will. But
yeah,
how do we become emancipated? Because that is a fantastic question to lead off with.
And we can get into the trust and some other stuff.
I don't want it to get lost in the shuffle over an hour into it. I think that's a much
I agree.
question to be asked at the very top of a recording.
Do you want to do it now, or do you want to do it? You want to just keep going? We'll do a second one.
Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
Okay. I'll shut this one down. I'll shut this one down. I'll send you an invite, and we'll pick one back up.
I think that's great.
All right.
Great.
So, stay tuned for part 2.
Excellent. All right. I'll see you in a few minutes.
See you in a minute.